Time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Thursday morning. We're glad that you've joined us wherever and whenever it is that you tune us in each and every day and make an Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. I'm Brett. That's Randy. Randy, good to see you this morning, man. Man, so much to dive into and talk about, but I know everybody really kind of starting their 4th of July weekend probably today. Some people probably knocking off early. I won't be. I know you won't be. We got an on location coming up at lunch. We'll talk more about that. So, yeah, we got a lot going on, but man, it's busier than ever right now in the world of athletics with the way things are changing. I know we're going to dive into that. Faith and I were at Ambush last night. We'll talk about that. But, you know, in honor of America, right? You know, in the Mount Rushmore, and you and I love history. And we know other people have done this too, but hey, we're going to give our take. The Mount Rushmore of Auburn for us, and then maybe in different positions, we can go down through there and name. And I think this is a lot of fun. I saw you and Andy, you know, with that. And when I was gone on a trip this past week, and it's a great place to start here. I know, especially around our area, the Lake Martin area, 4th of July is a massive holiday.
It is going to be a really busy area around the lake. And look, when you're in the media business, you've got to do programming right now because the eyes and the ears are on you. So you and I will take tomorrow off, but we'll be back live on Saturday morning with the Saturday Sports Countdown. I know that's on July the 5th. So stay tuned in for that. Brett will talk about the big ambush event last night here at the lake. But I love history. And I told Brett as we let in, you know, I feel like we've talked the NIL and the transfer portal to death. I can give as many takes as you would like on that, but I feel like mine are the same as others. But, you know, there is a lot of great history with Auburn football, and you can get weighed down with the negative feel that's semi around the program right now. I'm not saying there's a negative feel going in to this season because I think the opportunities are there for Auburn to turn this thing around. But it's hard to say that currently with recruiting going on that Auburn's got a really good taste in their mouth with what's going on there. We had a congratulations to Sedarian Morgan yesterday. I thought the event went off spectacular. Got to give kudos to he and his family, Brett. I mean, you have these signing day events, and from time to time, the old timers don't like it. But man, let the kid and the family and the community. And it was great that he did it at Cooper Rec, right there in downtown Alex City. And Brett, you and I grew up going to that school. We went to 3rd and 4th grade there. So great to see him embrace where he grew up and have such an event go off, and seemed like the entire community was excited about that. So we'll start there. I know he went to Alabama, committed to Alabama, but we got to pinch ourselves also. I mean, we got Malcolm Simmons that you and I'll be cheering for as hard as we can. Only a couple of years ago, you and I were calling his games at Benjamin Russell. Now you got Sedarian, who's one of the top recruits in the country, going to Alabama. They'll play against each other in the Cup next year in the Iron Bowl. Look, things could be worse, and we'll be cheering for him wherever he goes.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. We're looking forward to, you know, covering him and the football season coming up here in just a couple of months. I mean, everything will get started high school wise, and I know he got that behind him yesterday, and is going to be focusing on, you know, when I interviewed him a couple of months ago, he said, you know, it's been 25 years since Benjamin Russell won a state championship. You know, you think about it and you go, really? And it's like, yeah, that's right. And so they've got a team assembled that can compete probably deep into the playoffs this year if things can kind of click. You know, there's a lot of new pieces and all on this team that we'll be covering. And so we're excited about that. But yeah, congratulations to him. You know, it's a long, tedious process for a lot of these kids, and they have relationships at all these schools. And at the end of the day, just like anything in this life, you have to make a decision that you feel like is best for you. and for your family. Unfortunately for us over here on this side, he won't be wearing our colors. He'll be wearing the colors across the state, but we'll be pulling for Cedarian. I'm looking forward to seeing him in his senior year at Benjamin Russell first and foremost, because I think he's gonna have a massive impact on this season. Has a chance to do some things maybe a lot of receivers have not been able to do at Benjamin Russell. So, and that's saying a lot because we've had some really good ones. Justin, no, he hasn't signed yet. So, yeah, I mean, again, and, I think one of the things that you look at, and that's one thing that John Cohen talked about and Hugh Freeze talked about last night that we'll dive into later, is that, do I expect him to flip? No, I don't. Honestly, I really don't, because I think now you kind of, in this new age, you probably dive in a little bit deeper, and you probably talk about some things a little bit more in detail. And I don't know what you put on paper. I know August 1st, you have to sign, or you can sign a deal with the university now. So that's going to change a lot of things. So when people put pen to paper, it's going to change a lot of things. So you may not see as many flips, but I think his mom made it clear that, they're going to keep calling him and he's going to keep listening. And so, yeah, it was a big day. But again, and I think other shows that I looked at yesterday, even some Bama shows, said, hey, look, it's recruiting. Could he flip? Yeah, he could. But right now we got him. And so it's the world of recruiting, and that's just how it is. But, yeah, congratulations to him. And he may end up at Bama. He may not. So we'll see. I think we'll find out.
Let me jump in real quick. Right. I was thinking about this last night. You want to talk about, tell me a high school in the state of Alabama that can claim 4 wide receivers better than Benjamin Russell can. I will wait on anyone to come back on these 4. You want to talk about Mount Rushmore? How about these? Red Phillips, consensus All-American, first team All-American, first round draft pick in the NFL, NFL All-Pro, unbelievable at Auburn for a national championship in 57, also won a state championship in 53 at Ben Russell. So never won any better than him. Terrell Owens was there yesterday, NFL Hall of Famer.
Right.
Amazing ambassador for our community. Every time it feels like something's going on, T.O.'s back there embracing the school. I know Coach Jay had him speak to the kids a number of times this summer and has been around that program. So we can't say enough good things about T.O. And look at the 2 that we've had here recently, and Malcolm Simmons and now Cedarian Morgan. I mean, good luck with that. I know Malcolm and Cedarian have a lot to prove once they get into the college ranks and on into their college ranks. I thought Malcolm had a good start to his freshman year, but I think there's bigger and brighter days to come.
Oh, yeah.
But Brett, good luck finding me a high school that's got 4 better than that.
That's pretty dang good. First of all, not many people can say that a Hall of Famer. So you can start there. And then, like you said, with Red Phillips, I mean, it's just one of those deals where you look at across decades, and, you could move that guy across decades and he would have been phenomenal. So, yeah, can't say enough about those 4 that you just named. And some have had a career and others are in the midst of their career right now. And so, yeah, it kind of leads us to the Mount Rushmore of Auburn. And before we do that, I want to get to some of these sponsors of ours, Randy, because we couldn't do the show without them, and we appreciate them so very much. Speaking of Sensor Green, we'll have Wade with us today on location. We'll talk more about that. Always happy to have Wade. But Sensor Green, for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sensor Green. They are the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama and proud supporters of Auburn athletics. The Auburn Blitz podcast. Again, we appreciate them so very much. And if you need a new unit, they're the guys to call. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, serving the Southeast. They got big projects going on all over the place, and they can help you with your project. So if you're building a new school, renovation, anything, what's going on that involves a lot of money and big contractors, you need a consulting firm and a construction firm that's going to carry you from the start to the finish. And that's what Scout does. They're professionals. They make sure every T's crossed and every I's dotted. Call on them today. And then Bunker saw Allen last night at the Auburn Ambush event. He was bidding on all kind of stuff. I said, all right, Alan, hold on just a minute. I'm like, yeah, we want to stay sponsors. We want to stay partners with y'all. Don't you spend everything down here at the Auburn Ambush. But good to see Alan Brewer and, man, just great people. And their business is phenomenal. If you haven't been downtown to Bunkers, man, with the heat out there, if you don't want to play golf on the links, go to Bunkers. And they've got a couple bars. They got people to bring drinks right there to you. You can play simulated golf, Randy, and it's a heck of a lot cooler. A lot nicer in there. So go check out Bunkers in downtown Auburn. But again, we can't thank our partners enough. Again, we couldn't do the show without them. All right, let's get to the Mount Rushmore of Auburn. And I guess we'll start with quarterbacks. And, if you had to pick one, who's going up there? I mean, I think I know the obvious choice for a lot of people. Or actually, there's two choices probably that would be obvious one way or the other. Probably depends on what generation you're in, but there's some pretty dang good quarterbacks outside of the two that have a statue outside the stadium.
Well, Andy and I did this the other day, so I'll start, and that'll give you a few minutes to think about yours.
Yep.
Number one, I think, of course, Cam Newton's probably the best football player to ever play at Auburn. I think you can have an argument that it's Bo Jackson, but Cam Newton won a national championship, so I'm going to give him
Cam Newton, one of the best college football players ever.
I'm going to give him kudos for getting us over the hump. Not that Bo doesn't deserve credit for Auburn. Should have been there in '83, but
Yep.
I'm not going to have that debate right now. So Cam Newton, of course, but just 1 year. So number one, top of the list for me. And I think you've got to take into consideration the generation they play in when you look at the numbers that they put up. But it's Pat Sullivan, and I think that is the easiest answer you can give. Almost 7,000 yards passing, threw the ball all over the park when others weren't. The stats carry their way over even into the generation now where, if you're a great quarterback, you're expected to throw for 3,000 to 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns and only 4 or 5 interceptions. That's what the crazy Heisman numbers are now. Pat Sullivan did win that Heisman Trophy, and he also won it in an era where Auburn was not the best football team all the way around. I mean, you look at the mid to late 60s, we had a couple of decent years mixed in, and then he and Terry Beasley came on the scene and turned us into an outstanding football team that could compete at the top of the SEC and able to get over the hump against Alabama a few times during that stretch. And then Auburn goes back into mediocrity after the Amazons in '72. And we had some decent years, but closing out the Shug Jordan years were not a thing of beauty. And then we went into the Barfield years where it was very mediocre also. So I think that it's hard to deny that Pat Sullivan. Here's where it gets sticky, though. The next two for everybody is going to be different. So I'll start with my next two. It's Nick Marshall. If you told me I could have Nick Marshall every year, I'd say just sign me up. Maybe there's a deuce on the loose at some point in time that makes me change my opinion there. But right now, Nick Marshall, not only passing the football for right at 2,300 yards both of those years, but his ability to run that read option and rush the football between 700 and 900 yards makes me choose him. And then I'm going to my heart in the 80s, and I'm going to pick somebody that's not going to show up in the stat totals. But I love Randy Campbell.
I knew it.
Randy Campbell, for a lot of us 80s kids, was just a tremendous. He was a great leader, ran the option exceptionally well. You're never going to look down at the stat totals and during that era, if you were an option quarterback in the wishbone and have massive numbers, but he did everything well. He could throw the football. He could read defenses. He could make sure that those Lionel James and all of those guys, along with Bo Jackson, were getting touches on the football in the right spots, and he didn't make a lot of mistakes. So put those four up there for me, Brett.
All right, look, I mean, obviously, I'm going to go quick. Pat Sullivan and Cam Newton. I mean, you can't. I mean, how you have a Mount Rushmore at Auburn of quarterbacks, and I have those two. So those are very obvious. And then so I'm going to dive into, like what you said, I'm going to go Damian Craig because I liked what he did for us in the late 90s. I was there. I was on the sideline for a lot of those games. So obviously Damian Craig. holds a special place in mine and your heart with what he did. And then I'm going to go even further down. And look, Nick Marshall's hard to argue. He took Auburn to a national championship game. But I'm going to go Reggie Slack because I thought Reggie Slack played during an era. He had some unbelievable, again, single games where he was able to do some crazy stuff. And, he was the quarterback for with the first time Alabama came to Auburn. So historical there and what he was able to do. And I can't imagine mentally what he was going through the night before that game and how much pressure was on that team, how much pressure was on Alabama's team coming in. I mean, that place just had atomic energy down there that day. And so those guys had to get dialed in and go out and play a football game for their school. And so he made a couple big plays early in that game. Alabama actually came back, took the lead, and so he was able to fight back and get Auburn back over the hump and win the game. So, again, those would be my four quarterbacks on the Mount Rushmore.
Going to be a lot more out there. We know that. So comment away. Let us know your four, and let's keep it moving, Brett. Maybe
I've got some comments for you, though, real quick before we move on. Justin said, back to the Ben Russell thing, who's the wide receiver at UAB? He's talking about Corey Milner. Corey Milner can be added into that mix as far as talent, and he also put Tyree up there. But Tyree didn't play receiver at Ben Russell. He did play receiver in college, but he didn't play receiver at Ben Russell. And he also said real quick, and we'll save this, but I want to go ahead and tee you up for this one, asking you how you feel about Cohen and Hughes' comments last night, and then what do you think Auburn is doing the right thing? So we'll dive into that right before Randy gets off here in a few minutes, and then Faith jumps in because Faith and I were at the Ambush event last night, and I'm going to go over in detail what they said and let everybody kind of make a decision on what you think. And then that'll be something for you and I to talk about in depth on Saturday, Randy.
That'd be
after
great.
You hear all that and process that. All right, but let's move to running backs here for Mount Rushmore of Auburn.
Well, this one is really difficult because there's 5 or 6. I mean, I don't think anyone could be reasonable. It's kind of like quarterback and not take the first 2. So we know Bo Jackson and we know Cadillac are the first 2. And after that, though, you could say James Brooks deserves to be on everybody's list, but I don't think he's going to be. Mm-hmm. So it gets difficult. But so I'll start. Of course, those 2, look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. They played for great teams. They led great teams. They moved on to be drafted extremely high in the NFL and have good careers there. So Bo Jackson and Cadillac. But after that, here's where it gets sticky, and I'm going to start. Mine changes every time I talk about it. So if you tuned in the other day, it's going to change again. So here goes, though. I'm going to say the little train deserves to be on this list. I love Lionel James, and Lionel James, not only, Brett's going to have him a 6 back there, and I think I've seen the picture of you in that 6 with that.
I have.
That old style, like
where that is,
Jersey's mesh hat that sat down on top of your head that had the big brim that came out. Right. I can still see a picture of you, I think, in my mind with that one on. But Lionel James was he didn't have a lot of size, but, buddy, he had heart, and he made big play after big play. And then he went to the NFL, and I know at one point in time he had the all-purpose yardage record in the NFL for a single season. So it was not only at Auburn, he was able to move on in the pros and do the same thing. So add him there to the list. And then I can't get past Trey Mason. There's no way I'm going to put a Mount Rushmore up there and not have Trey Mason at the top, because I think for a single season, just like Cam Newton, if you're going to put Cam Newton up there for a single season, Trey Mason was the best running back Auburn's ever had. Now, Bo, you're going to have a lot of Bo fans that want to fight with me on this. And I witnessed Bo in 85. Look, I was 8 or 9 years old. I watched it. I saw him have 200-plus yard rushing games. But it was a different era. And Trey Mason does have the all-time record for Auburn in single-season rushing yards with over 1,800. And in that season, Brett, the only reason we didn't win a national championships, he was too damn good. He scored too quick. I mean, if he wouldn't have scored so quick, we'd have won a
Don't
national
run the guy.
championship.
He mowed the guy down and went on and scored. I'm like, damn. I'm like, Florida State was so daggum tired they couldn't even tackle him. And so I know. I mean, only us, man. I mean, only us can have a guy that's actually playing too good in a national championship game. I like what you said there because I remember the recruitment of Trey Mason.
I do,
and
too.
He was a 4-star guy that nobody talked about. Yep. And everybody's like, well, Auburn got this 4-star running back out of Florida. He's 4-star, but, he didn't get the hype of any of those running backs that came out in that class. But you know what he did? He just showed up at Auburn and broke records. And I was at the SEC championship game when we played Missouri, and they couldn't tackle him. And he set the SEC championship game rushing record. So that was that. But I'm with you. You got me all in my feels this morning with the Lionel James deal. I mean, Lionel James is just,
you like James over Fullwood, Brett?
I'm not going to actually pick James over Fullwood, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm kind of I wore my 6 jersey when I was little all over the place. I had a Brent Fullwood jersey too. It was the old cloth thing though, so I like my Lionel James jersey better. But Brent Fullwood, man, I don't know, Randy, and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the highest ranked recruit we had ever had at Auburn when he was recruited to Auburn. Now they didn't do stars. They didn't do stars and stuff back then, but if they had rankings, he probably was the highest ranked guy that we had ever gotten. So that's that. So I'm going to have obviously Bo Jackson and Cadillac up there along with Brent Fullwood. I'm with you. I got to go with Trey Mason because I witnessed it, man. I think he just gets undersold so bad for whatever reason. And man, he went to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. He got invited. That alone puts you up in a top tier. So I'm going to go with those 4 there. So Trey Mason, Cadillac, Bo Jackson, and then of course Brent Fullwood, who had to share some time, back there with some other guys too. And so again, it wasn't just like he was just getting a handoff every time.
Well, we done quarterback and running back, but I told you I want to go to all the other positions because I think a lot of people do those 2, but they don't do linebacker. They don't do defensive line. They never look back in the secondary to talk about guys that we should. So we've got a few months before we head into this football season as Faith jumps on.
The question is, does Faith know who Brent Fullwood is? I know she does, but she was just a twinkle in the eye of her parents at that point.
Little did they know.
Little did they know. That's right.
All right, y'all roll it over. I'll give a quick take on the comments that you heard last night. Brett, maybe give a 1-minute spiel on exactly what was the biggest takeaway that you had, and then I'll give mine and then step away and let y'all talk a lot more about it.
I mean, basically the way Auburn's approaching this recruitment. And I think after, and Faith can correct me if I'm wrong on this, the Auburn coaches and administration aren't panicked at all. And I think Coach Freeze, we've been on here and we've questioned and all that, but Coach Freeze, I thought, did a really good job of explaining where he is right now in the recruiting process and how he's approaching it. Look, you and I have said it, Randy. He didn't wake up yesterday and forget how to recruit, and you're having to navigate a bunch of new rules. And when you listen to what they said, and if this new NIL Go umbrella does what it's supposed to do, which I'm afraid it won't because everything else in the past has failed, but Auburn's trying to ride with, let's try to do it right, because they've threatened severe penalties on the back end if you go over the salary cap and all. Faith and I'll dive into that here in just a minute. But if they do police it, then you've got only X number of dollars. And if you go out and get a separate deal in that NIL Go, it goes towards your 20 and a half, man. It comes out of your budget. So you can't just go out there and promise everybody $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year and also maintain your roster. Now, again, I'm new to this just like both of y'all are. I don't know. All we can do is go off what people tell us. But I can do the simple math of the number of people on your roster. And if you want to keep the guys on your roster because the transfer portal is still there. And I thought Coach Freeze said it yesterday. He said, if Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons and those guys have phenomenal years, they're going to come up at the end of the year and goes, where's my deal? And are you going to be giving all that money away to high school kids that have not proven anything? You and I've said that a million times, Randy. I'll let you give your take real quick before you get off.
Well, it's interesting to hear from them, and I've always appreciated that because you and I have opinions the same as every other Auburn fan out there. But when you actually hear it from the horse's mouth, it makes you go, wait, I thought that. It's nice to hear it. So I do think your philosophy has to change. And I've thought that I was, being the high school guy that you and I are, that I want to see as many kids here in this state that are high school guys get opportunities. And so I appreciated Coach Freeze's philosophy in comparison to Lane Kiffin, who's really playing that transfer portal game. But as we move on into this thing, I've got a lot of confidence, and I'm going to go to one position group and one player, and then I'll step aside. All right, we go out in the transfer portal season, and we pick up Eric Singleton. I think he's going to make a massive difference on the offensive side of the ball this year for Auburn. I think if you had to go out there and get a percentage of Auburn fans that feel like he's going to have a massive year, it's going to be exceptionally high. Whereas if you go get that same percentage of Auburn fans and ask, how do you think Perry Thompson's going to do? All those Auburn fans want Perry Thompson to be a Heisman Trophy winner. You and I do too. But if I've got to give a percentage, I'm going to say I'm 95% certain that Eric Singleton's going to have a massive year with the money that we spent in the transfer portal to get him here from Georgia Tech. And I'm about 25% confident that Perry Thompson's going to hit his peak this year in comparison to all those other great receivers that you just reeled off, Brett. And now the 25%, the ceiling could be through the roof. But I don't know. I mean, what do you know? So I do think your philosophy has to change. And the only way that you can go get Eric Singleton is to have money sitting on the sideline to go pick up guys at certain positions that you need, i.e. the offensive line this year. Auburn did that in the offseason. Knew we had pieces we need to go get. We went and got one of the best ones. And can he make a difference? We're going to see. So I think you do have to make that change. The only thing that I will sit back and listen to y'all discuss is the NCAA has had no teeth up to this point. So those schools that are out there going, until you prove to me that you're going to uphold a standard that we all play under, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to offer them what I think they're worth. And if it becomes a salary cap issue, then y'all come and slap me on the wrist when it happens. But your slaps aren't real hard. And they haven't bothered me in the past when I sat around and worried. And I'll close with this. Auburn sat a couple of guys in basketball a few years ago we never, ever, ever should have sat. And Bruce Pearl, I'll never forget a football season sitting with you, Brett, where they wouldn't even show Bruce Pearl on the Jumbotron up there for an entire season because of what the end.
Well,
so I'm sorry, but you know what I mean? So my point is,
you hearing anything, Faye?
No.
Don't hear. I don't have your audio anymore, buddy. There you go. I think I got you back. There you go.
I'll step aside, but my point being, as I close out, is that the NCAA barks a lot, but there never seems to be any issue when it comes to the end. So I'll step aside. I'll listen to y'all discuss.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Bye, Randy.
All right. Faith, I'm going to dive right in, and we'll get to some more of our partners here in just a minute. You and I had a great night last night at the ambush, and we're there in the media room with a few other media members. And so, again, I think you and I were very interested to hear what John Cohen and Coach Freeze and really all of the coaches had to say last night regarding this. And, we have our video out for people to go watch if they want to go to our YouTube our Instagram, kind of summing up, but we're going to do it again here. And I'm look, the truth is Auburn is gambling that this NCAA Go Commission is going to do the right thing and police this thing. Because the reason we're in this situation right now is because the NCAA collapsed because they could not they picked and chose who they wanted to, I guess, render or issue punishment to versus others. And some got away with more than others back in the day. And the McDonald's sacks, I think, are back in play now with this, because now you've limited people on what they can spend. So they still want these kids. What are they going to do? They're going to have to rely on some underhanded way to get the money, because you can't, the math doesn't add up. If you do it the way it's structured, then the outside deals are going to count toward, if you sign those deals on paper and they go through that clearinghouse, it goes toward that money, Faith. So there's going to be underhanded stuff going on again.
Well, okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of them, I don't know if it was John or if it was Hugh, that said if there is a third party involved, that it is still contributing to
It is. Yes.
that cap. So my thing is how are people going to be getting away with going over that limit?
Here's his exact quote, Faith, and you nailed it. It was John Cohen. I've got my notes here. He said, we're going to, and you can go back and watch the video because we've got the video out. So if I don't say it exactly like this, these are my notes. We're going to cross that mountain when we get there. Talking about the August 1st deal where you can start signing, and I'll go back and read what he said about that. But he said, we're going to cross that mountain when we get there. But just to be clear, if there is an offer in place that is a third-party offer from NIL Go, it has to count against the cap. There it is. So if you're giving $400,000 and an outside party's giving $400,000, it's $800,000.
Right.
It's not, I'm going to give $400,000 and let this collective, like it was established originally, give what they wanted to do. It's all count. Well, Faith, let's just do the simple math, man. And we heard some rumors about a couple of recruits yesterday and what they received. Upwards of $500,000, not Auburn guys, but some other ones. Upwards of their total package would be $500,000 to $600,000. Okay, if that's what you want to do, and he's that important to you, good for you. But you can't. And I think John Cohen said there's 20. There's I can't remember how many schools with 25 plus commitments already. Yeah. 25 plus commitments already. And well, they're not just committing because it just is the thing to do. They're getting promised some stuff. So what's going to happen when it comes time to put the pen to paper or gets to December and those guys on their roster come back and say, hey, where's my deal? I've already proven. Are they going to have to tell 12 to 15 of their guys that they were recruiting, that the money that they promised them isn't in place anymore?
So yesterday when they were talking about August 1st being the day that they can sign offers on paper.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is literally me just asking you because I am unclear on this. If you sign a NIL deal with somebody, let's just use Alabama for example. If I were to sign something with Alabama on August 1st, but I'm a recruit, so I haven't signed with them on paper yet. You're waiting to do, you're doing that in December. If I were to do that on August 1st, but then I would want to back out and flip.
I don't know how they handle that. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if is that a contract at that point?
Well, so we've been saying that a lot of things would be able to be better structured if things were written on paper and you had those contracts and stuff.
Right.
Is this a contract? Does this mean you can't flip? What is this?
And should they move up signing day at that point? I mean, if you
Right.
put your money, like what he said, put your money where your mouth is. So here's John Cohen's quote from last night on that. We feel like August 1st is a big day coming up. For those of you that aren't aware, I'm sure you are aware, August 1st is the first day that a prospective student athlete can receive an offer on paper. Okay, that's a big day. It's not a rumor. It's not an innuendo. It's not this person says this. It's offer on paper. We're a good distance away from August 1st, and we're really a good distance away from December. So Rashad White has said contract in place. Okay, I get that. But to me, why are we saying August 1 and December? Obviously, December is when you signed to come to the school. Correct?
Here's something else to put in perspective. Coach Thompson told us that
well, they're not signing. Like technically, I guess they're not signing anything in August. They have to submit an official offer in August. So that let me clear that up for both of us. They're not signing anything in August, but like say, Faith, you offered me $400,000, and that's a verbal deal at this point. But come August,
verbal deals mean nothing as well.
Yeah, they don't. But when you submit that to me August 1, it has to go through the NIL process because it's an official offer. Right. So that's sitting out there. The NIL is sitting out there. I hear
guys that are getting
said the NIL is the whole commitment
each month.
I don't know that it holds a commitment. I don't know that it does. I mean, it can. It makes you feel much better about yourself if the university comes to you on paper and says, we're going to give you this. But again, it's nothing signed by either party. So, yes, the recruitment is still open until December.
So if you go and you flip from August 1st to December, are you paying back the money that you've been getting? What? I
don't think any money's exchanged hands at that point.
Really? That's what you think?
Well, I'm being devil's advocate. I'm just saying that I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. That's why I said the McDonald's bags are back in play again. You know, because you are having to record and list everything that you're doing now. You're having to send the NIL deals through the NIL.
Though, is when people are going and they're automatically, I'm just going to use Travis Burgess, for example, when he just went and committed to UNC and all of that just off the table, we know that there had to have been something that
made him
was offered to him.
Right.
So that's not being, is that being recorded as NIL? Like, is that what is that?
Here's what I think is really happening. No money's being exchanged right now in the open, right? But when you look at it from a standpoint of you're let's say you're trying to operate within a budget, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you're operating within this budget and you're like, okay, this is what we got to do. We can't go promise a guy this. And it's exactly going back to what you and I talked about and had a coach tell us 2 months ago. And it didn't happen to be an Auburn coach, by the way, but it was another guy that said there are guys out here lying and it's going to catch up with them. It's going to catch up with them because they cannot financially come through with what they're telling every one of these players. Like, I'm just going to say USC's got 28 commitments right now. Let's see how all that plays out. Are they not going to pay anybody on their roster that they got right now? They just going to tell all them to kick rocks and get out. We're going to bring all these new guys in. Is that what Lincoln Riley's going to do? I'm just asking. You know, right. So at the end of the day, you know, what's going to happen in December when some of this stuff, if it falls apart for some of these schools, there's going to be a bunch of kids out here going, hey, I got to go find somewhere else to go. Now, again, That's in a perfect world if they actually really police this thing. I'm telling you, like I told you last night on our little comment video, and then what we talked about with some other people, Auburn's gambling that they're going to police this thing. They are. I mean, they all sat up there and said it last night. Hugh Freeze said it. John Cohen said it. You can't be more clear that they're saying we'll wait. And that's why they're saying that's exactly why John Cohen said we're a long way away from December, and that they both feel like we're going to finish with. And John Cohen doubled down last night, Faith, defending Hugh Freeze, didn't he?
Yeah. Auburn's moving about this they're doing it in the right manner of being fair in playing by the rules, because again, we don't know what that penalty is, but it's something that nobody at Auburn wants to touch and get involved with. And what I was saying earlier is the fact that Coach Thompson he told us that just from the hour drive from Auburn to Willow Point last night, he said, has anything changed? Is there anything new? And then he said, once I get out of this event, I'm going to get back on the phone and see what's changed, because there's been so many changes that have been happening. And if there's the official offer on August 1st, it's July 3rd. There's so many changes that can still be made until August 1st. And for people not to have that much information going into all of this, I think Auburn is moving about this very, very efficiently.
I do too, and I just hope they don't get burned, because again, I had no confidence ever in the NCAA to ever do the right thing, and they didn't, and they fell apart. I just don't know why we all wake up right now. And again, I'm not trying to say Auburn's being naive, but I don't know why we all wake up and all of a sudden expect things to be above board and everybody operating within this $20.5 million umbrella, which, by the way, is not all for football. It's you got to share that with other sports. Now, I know we've talked about other sports in jeopardy of going away because you're just not going to have the money anymore. But for football, I mean, do we really think some of these schools are not going to go out and get who they want, and they're not going to go over the salary cap, and they're not going to use other means to do it? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not naive. I hope they're right, but Wade just said we're going to get burned. And Rashad said everyone is definitely not playing by the rules. And Justin said Pete Nakos from On 3 said a lot of fake money being thrown around right now. We all know this. I said it, and Rashad laughed at my comment about the McDonald's sacks, but it's the truth. You know, we went away from that because we went to the Wild West and there were no rules. But then when you put rules back in place, now everybody's got to resort back to doing things nefariously and trying to make a way to come up with the funds that they need now to get all the players that they want. So I think what Coach Freeze was saying last night, let's talk about that for a minute, Faith. Before we do that, we want to talk about some more of our partners here on the program. Sure Shot in Alexander City.
Right up Highway 280. They've got all your firearm apparel and hunting needs. It's always hunting season. So go and, you can get all the apparel items, but it's also target season. So they've got all of that stuff that you can go in there for. They've also got a handgun course. So if you need help on what is right and wrong when it comes to handguns and when you can use it and when you can't, and being able to get some target practice there, Scott can help you with that. So call them at 256-329-0080. And Oliver Ross, if you've got a party of 20 up to a convention or wedding up to 20,000 people, Oliver Ross is going to be able to take care of you. They're certified and licensed bartenders. So you can focus on the hosting and entertainment side while they focus on the bartending and making sure that your guests have a great time while you can just enjoy your time there.
And go check them out on Instagram. Their Instagram is really, really awesome. Coach Freeze last night said, look, I'm more concerned about our roster and, maintaining our roster. And those guys are having to get paid too. Again, once you get guys on the roster, doesn't mean, oh, we got that. It's a whole nother pack of money. We got another set of money over here. You know, you got to, that all goes to what you're trying to maintain, plus the new people coming in. And so he's right. If you want to look at the wide receiver room, yeah, I don't know. I mean, how much better can you get? But all of those guys, I mean, I know some of them will probably, I know Eric Singleton will probably go pro next year. But Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Cam Coleman, you all hope stay around. You know, and Sam Turner and some of these other guys that are up and come. I mean, they're not just gonna sit over there and say, yeah, go get that 5-star and go give him whatever he wants. And I'll take a cut. I'll take a cut to get him over here. That ain't happening, man. I mean, period.
Especially waiting your turn, waiting and getting coached up, playing with these guys.
Right.
You're not going to sit there and say, no, it's okay. He's better than me because he's stepped on and actually played at a college level before. That's why he's worth more than me. Okay.
So I think the Eric Singleton example is a really good example. I used it last night. Randy brought it up this morning. You go get a guy that you know is proven and everybody wanted. Are you going to go get a 5-star guy out of high school that may or may not? Like, look, every 5-star isn't Cam Coleman and Ryan Williams, okay? You know, some have to, you know, come in and bide their time, even though they're really, really talented. And I'm just using that as an example. So, you know, Eric Singleton's coming. You spend money on him. You've already seen he's done it at the highest level. You know he's going to get on the field. That 5-star or that high 4-star wide receiver out of high school may or may not get in the first year. And you spent that money on him and you're not getting any production out of it. This is roster management. This is NFL style. And John Cohen said it in the big room last night in front of everybody. He said that they sent their plan to the Green Bay Packers to analyze and said, shoot holes through this thing, see where we're going wrong, because they're basically managing a pro team now. And, you know, Stephen Pearl will shift gears a little bit. And Stephen Pearl said that John Cohen and Brett Whiteside and all those guys had a great vision of how this thing was going to play out because they were going to have to replace so many players after this past year because they knew they had a good team and they knew everybody was going to be leaving and they were going to have an empty cupboard. So they had to replace 10 guys. And look at what they were able to go out and do, Faith. They went out and got some unbelievable players out of the portal, and they've assembled a brand new team that I think is going to really compete well.
Yeah, it's just so early in all of this, and I don't know. Everyone keeps asking if, is Auburn really just playing by the rules and everybody else is cheating? And is that really the reason? What's the reason we're not getting recruits and stuff when it comes to football? And I think it is true that Auburn is playing by the rules and they're not going out and cheating these kids. And that's why.
Well, I don't think they're telling them. Yeah, I don't think they're telling them because Sedarian even said, look, we'll use his quote on his visit to Auburn. He said, Auburn told me they weren't able to tell me right now what they were going to be able to do. That's not,
I think so many schools are going to get
speculation.
Yeah, I think so many schools are just going to get bit in the back when
we're going to have to see. You know, like Justin said just now, I've heard different opinions on if NIL counts toward the salary cap. He said Cohen was mighty confident it will last night. I hope he's right. I do too. That's what he gets paid to do. He's the AD. I mean, if he doesn't know the rules, I don't know who does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's their job to know the rules and to say this is how we're going to do it. And I'm just telling everybody, you and I saw it. They were very confident. They weren't. This was not. Did he freeze look panic to you last night?
No.
I mean, I'm just being honest. And a lot of people may say, well, maybe because he don't give. I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that he doesn't care. Obviously, he cared. He was very confident in saying that we're going to win football games this year and we're going to get this thing turned around. So, and again, it's all talk right now. You got to go prove it on the field.
Right.
And we've said that. We've talked that with the death. I mean, we all know that by now. I'm sure every other podcast and whatever saying the exact same thing we are, because it's the truth. And it is going to be interesting to see if they can make that ground up. It isn't. And Coach Free said it. He said, no, he said, this isn't a fun position to be in. I've never been in this position where we're sitting here at the bottom of the conference in recruiting and all that. But he said, look, it's July and I'm not worried about it right now. He said, we had over 200.
What else did John say when Hugh came in December 3 years ago? That
He said that, basically that's when I said he doubled down, defending Hugh Freeze. He said, look, we hired him in December, and then in February he went from a class that was in the high 50s, low 60s to a top 20 class. If you'll remember, he flipped Keldrick Falk in that class, by the way, who was a hard commit to Florida State. So I'll go back and say that's maybe one of the biggest recruits that he will ever land at Auburn, period, was getting Keldrick Falk. Look at what Keldrick Falk's anticipated to do this year. He's anticipated to be a first-round draft pick, along with Eric Singleton and Xavier Chaplin, two guys he went out and got out of the portal. So I think on the surface, by old standards, the sky would be falling and it would look terrible. But by the new things and with dates coming up that are important and thresholds to cross for the first time that we've never seen, well, let's just see how it all plays out. And again, I said this to you last night. Auburn is gambling that this NIL go and this new commission is going to police this thing correctly, and they're going to really penalize those that don't abide by it. But guess what's going to happen if they don't, Faith? Auburn is going to be massively behind.
Yeah.
And these other schools are going to be sitting there pointing and laughing. And so that's just where we are with it. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it other than that.
You summed it up.
So go check our videos out. Faith loaded those on YouTube last night. Our video was up on Instagram as well. Basically what you just heard us say, we said in that video, but go check that out and go spread that, share that for us. We would appreciate that. But, Coach Thompson, Coach Pearl, I mean, they all feel like, they're in really good shape. And, I don't know that anybody has done more than Butch Thompson, with the, like John Cohen said, playing behind the eight ball with, the way the state legislature has Alabama and not having anything really to pull from like a lottery or a Hope Scholarship or anything like that, where Georgia and Mississippi and Tennessee and Florida and all the surrounding states have these alternative modes of being able to supplement kids for scholarships. Now with all this NIL stuff and all, it's brought things up to even. At least Auburn can now go in and offer things now, and it's helped Butch Thompson, but he was winning when he was at a disadvantage, when these other schools had, other opportunities. So just fortunate. I'll say this all the time, and I know you feel the same way. We're just really, really fortunate to have Butch Thompson as our baseball coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, a couple more partners here on the program. Then we got some things we want to talk about we got coming up today.
Old Number One Customs. If you've got a bathroom, a kitchen, or outdoor living area that you want renovated, Old Number One Customs will be in and out of your house in just 2 weeks. So don't DIY it in 2 years. Get it done in just 2 weeks with Old Number One Customs.
Yep. Can't wait to have them come in to my house.
JFA Blue Plumbing. If you have a dog or just yourself, actually, and you don't have filtered, purified water, what are you doing? It's damaging to your skin, your hair, your animals that drink the water. If you want a home Atlas water filter duo, JFA Blue Plumbing will be able to install a home Atlas water filter duo for just $15.99. So call them at 844 JFA Blue.
In closing, Faith, just a couple more things, I guess, to process. Again, My Lord. At the
My
text.
goodness, turn your phone on Do Not Disturb, maybe.
I need to do that. Good grief. Appreciate all the comments, though, and they just keep coming in.
Wow.
Just keep rolling in. I'm going to try to fight through it. My gosh. All right, so basically, the last question is, or the last thing to look at here is, at the end of all this in December, will Auburn be in a good position or not? And then basically, it's doubling down with what John Cohen is saying. John Cohen is basically saying we're going to do things the right way here, and he was pretty firm about it. And that really kind of summed up the night when he was up there, for 4 minutes?
Yeah.
One question was asked, and he said it so well. Kirk said, anybody else got anything? And everybody went, nope, that's it. Don't need it. Nothing else to say after that. So I know you and I will talk more about that today. We'll be on location at Backyard Dreams down at the Stillwaters area. We were there for the Riley Green autograph signing and the grand opening. When was that? About a month and a half ago now, or longer?
That was like May 21st or something.
Golly, man, just flies by.
Time flies by.
But we'll be back down there today and excited to be there. And we're going to be talking about all this some more and some other things. So come by and see us. And again, we'd love to give you a T-shirt. Don't have very many left. About to do a big reorder on all of our stuff heading into the fall. So we're excited about that. But you come by and see us at Backyard Dreams, man. It is the eve here of the 4th of July. I will be headed to Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine to pick up all our food for tomorrow. Excited about that, man. Again, Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine, the ribs, the baked beans, the potato salad, the whole deal. Everybody's all excited that I went back to Pepper Tree. So gonna go pick that up today as well. So Faith, I know you'll be heading out on the road, so please be safe after today, because just don't get around me right now. I'm like a magnet. I'm not hitting anybody. I just get hit. I don't know what it is. So I'm going to knock on wood. Hopefully all that's in it. But everybody be safe on the road. And that's a little shout out to our friends at Aldot with our On the Road show that we do. Buckle up, put the phone down. That's how you can run into somebody when you got your nose in your phone too. So
Amen.
all right, everybody. Again, it's going to be hot this weekend, and make sure we won't be on the podcast tomorrow, obviously, because it's the 4th of July. So we hope everybody has a fun and safe 4th. But don't forget to tune us in at noon. We'll be back with you here in just a few hours on location at Backyard Dreams. And as always, Faith,
have the best day ever and the best weekend ever.
Absolutely. And a big old
War Eagle.